Hello, folks. Welcome to the Players NIL podcast. Really excited to invite and have him join us today, a special guest, Mr. Alex Molden. Alex, welcome.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate this, Mark.
Cool. So to our audience, Alex has got quite a resume, and I'm sure that I'll have to pull it out of him, but college All-American, Rose Bowl, NFL draft pick, father, mentor, coach, quite a resume. And we're really excited to have him share some nuggets of wisdom and some advice. And so, Alex, as we start this podcast, I always ask my guests, tell me about your relationship with athletics. What were the early days like? Was there a mentor, your parents? What was your early experience? Did you go to a game? Did you meet an athlete? Tell us a little bit about how you fell in love with athletics and sports.
Absolutely. Well, mine is a little bit different than most people. I didn't grow up in that, playing sports. The first time I played like organized football, I was in 8th grade. And, my dad was in the military. He was a drill sergeant. So discipline, that was, foremost in our house. But yeah, we didn't watch sports on TV, didn't watch Olympics, didn't watch the Super Bowl. We didn't do any of that. But every time I would go outside and I start to watch these, the guys play football, I was like, this is kind of dope. Like, how do you play that? And then they look around like, man, you don't know this, you don't know, because they were saying like names like Tony Dorsett, Terry Bradshaw, Lynn Swan, right? They were selling all these names. And I was like, I was embarrassed. I didn't know who these guys were. And so what I did is, I learned things at the foundational level. And for me, at the foundation of it was I learned it by looking in the encyclopedia. And so encyclopedia, I looked under F, I pulled out F and I looked football, and thank goodness that football was listed. And I learned it from a foundational level. I learned what the positions were. I learned what their responsibilities were. And so for me, learning football at the foundational level, that gave me really a tool to start to have success. Now, the hard work, the being coachable, all those things had to come later. But for me, it all started with getting and learning it at the foundational level.
What kind of athlete were you in 8th grade?
I was pretty quick. I was skinny, but I was aggressive.
Yeah.
And I was, I had like a little mean streak in me. And, a lot of time I played angry because I figured like this is the only time where I can be able to get away with hitting somebody with my body and not getting in trouble. And on the flip side, not even getting in trouble, but being applauded.
Rewarded, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So you begin this journey. What other sports did you play besides football?
Ran track. Was pretty good at the high jump, the 100. I played basketball, but I was that typical football player who played basketball. I was like the bully, boxing cats out, rebounding and defender.
Right.
Not anything like I am today. Like I'm a perimeter shooter now, but that's another conversation. But yeah, I played all 3 sports in the high school. Meaning football, basketball, and track. And even like my senior year, I didn't play basketball anymore. I focused on really like lifting weights and whatnot, but I did run track.
So at what point in high school did you realize, hey, I might be able to take this to the next level and actually play in college?
So funny stories. I didn't know what the word scholarship meant until right before my sophomore year. And I remember like I was going to the field to go work out, and one of the guys, he was a punter and he was punting. Now, the thing is, he had graduated. And so in the summertime, I was like, man, what is he doing? Why are you still punting? He said, oh, no, I got a scholarship to go to so-and-so school. A scholarship? What's that? And he started laughing. He was like, Alex, you know what a scholarship is? I said, no, what's that? He said, man, that's what, schools give you and they pay for room and board. And once again, what's that? So, so he started telling me all this. That conversation changed my life. It gave me something to start to plan for and look for. It kind of gave me something, man. Okay, so I'm thinking I'm going to go to the Army just like my dad. And it's not the truth. I was like, man, there's another opportunity if you're good enough, if you do all the things, including schoolwork and your grades and all this. It's like, yeah, there's opportunity for a school to pay for you to go to school.
Right.
Changed my life.
Well, that's a great story. So we jump to University of Oregon, and you're a great athlete. You may not be a refined football player, but you have all the skills, and you must have had some mentors, some coaching. And tell us about some of those first year experiences on the football field, with some big players probably.
Yeah, has some dudes. But like honestly, my coach, Coach Schuler, I didn't really think he liked me. He was yelling at me. He's always screaming at me. And everybody else, they got a free pass. It seemed like that. But he had really bred me to be a bump and run corner. Now, I didn't play corner in high school. I was a safety.
Yeah.
So he shaped me, and it was scary being in front of a receiver that close, right, and learning the different skills and whatnot.
Yeah.
And he just bred me. I tried to back off. He said, hold on, what you doing? No, get close, bump and run. And so it was kind of like I learned by being in the fire.
Cool.
You know what I'm saying? And I learned this very early, is to be every rep, every time I'm out on the field, how can I learn? Because remember, I was a late into the football game. My football IQ was very low, but I understood if I put my ego in my back pocket, instead of jumping to the front of the line every time we're doing drills, what if I sit in the back? And what if I watch guys who've been there and done that, who have had success? What if I watch them and not necessarily steal things from them, but see how they move and maybe borrow different techniques and make them work for me and my speed and my body type? And so I started to do that, and I started to get better. And then I started to apply those same teachings, not just on the practice field, but also like in games. And I started to learn things like I did early on from the foundation.
Right.
Not just doing things that felt good. It's always asking why. Why am I using this? Why am I using this technique? And so I started to do that, and I started to get my own kind of flavor. And that kind of propelled me to, parlaying that and being a first round draft pick.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a great story. I love the humility and the humbleness of it. And so you got these lessons. You figured out how to pay attention and learn and absorb and take little pieces from people. You have a tremendous college career. You go to the pros. Every kid's dream to go to the NFL. That's another whole conversation. But what I want to get into now, Alex, is all these lessons learned on the field. Now your football career is over. What did you take and how did you apply it to real life? And what are you doing today from those foundational blocks that were put in place during that time? And what does your career look like today?
Well, great question, Mark. And I wish it was smoother. But then again, I don't. Because what I've learned and the people that I coach and the talks that I give, a lot of us athletes, because we've been so good for so long, and our abilities start to trump our character, and people start looking at our abilities, how fast we are, how big we are, how strong we are, and they don't look at like our character. Like a lot of us athletes, there's something in it. I call it the asshole gene. I have kids who have it, and it's something in them. Like I was one at one point. Like when I got triggered, man, I turned into that guy.
Right.
And when I was done playing football, that platform of playing in the NFL, that being the fastest, all my abilities, all that skill, I started to learn early on that people didn't care about that. They started to care about who I was,
Right.
what my character was.
Right.
And I didn't know how to correlate that, how to use, look at my character and how did I want people to see me.
Yeah.
People just saw me as a football player, and that was it. And most of them, to be honest, most of my relationships were very transactional.
Mm.
Instead of like,
what can you do for me?
Yeah.
Right.
I signed a contract. I supposed to do this. I do that. I get money. I do this for you. I get this for endorsements. And that wasn't there. And so, like, for me, like, and then the identity piece, my identity, man, I was a late bloomer. I didn't start playing until I was 12. Now I'm 33. And my identity got wrapped up into my abilities and what I did.
Yeah.
And then when you step away from that, no more football, right? Nobody cares about how fast you are anymore.
Yeah.
So now I'm left with my character, and I didn't know who I was. And so, and I thought that I was the only one that was like that. And it's not, because so many of us, we're told that your abilities, your sport, especially here in America, where everybody, elevates it, they don't concentrate. They don't work on understanding who they are.
Right. Right. Tell us about your book, The Ultimate Playbook. What's in there?
The Ultimate Playbook for High Achievement. That's a book that I'm really proud of. It took me quite some time to be able to open up and kind of share some of the things, because it's not a memoir. It's really like I dive into things that really has helped me when I was down, when I finished playing. And granted, Mark, I had millions in the bank, cars, multiple houses. None of that stuff meant anything because I didn't know what my purpose was. Mm-hmm. And so I had to go through these different things in my life and try to like, man, how do I do this? How do I find what my purpose is? What did God put me on this earth to do? I thought it was football. And for me, I had to take it and put it into a framework that gave me success on the football field. And so that was, I was taught by a coach, best coach I ever had. It was assignment, alignment, adjustment. Assignment, alignment, adjustment. So once I start to find out and I start to like, how do I define these things? How do I make this work in my new world? I had to find out my assignment, which is, who is Alex Molden? I had to ask myself deep questions I've never asked before. And actually, I needed help. I couldn't do that by myself. So I know how important having a coach is, because, we all have coaches to help us be better in our sport. And why not have somebody that you can trust, hold up a mirror and help guide you become the best version of yourself? So I would have loved to have done that earlier. It took me 10 years to really look in the mirror and like, okay, well, so I got a coach to help guide me into and asking me some questions. Who am I?
Right.
What drives me? What inspires me? And then I had to get aligned correctly with that person that I wanted to be. What's my foundation? Is it my career? Is it my family? Is it my hobbies? Is it my health? Is it my faith? And I had to ask those questions, and I had to be honest with myself where I was and where did I need to do, because, from a foundation part of it, it was my career. My career didn't last. Right. I played 8 years.
That's a long time, right?
Yeah, right. More than the average, twice. Right. But if I put everything on my foundation as my career, what happened when that's gone? Right. And so I needed to start to reposition things. And then what adjustments did I need to make?
Sure.
The adjustments that I made on the football field that gave me success. What adjustments did I need to make in my character, how I communicated, my relationships? Because there's a lot of relationships that didn't behoove me. It didn't make me better.
Right. Right. So if our audience wants to learn more about your life and your journey and contact you, what's the website? How do they find you?
I keep it easy, Mark. alexmolden.com. From
Okay.
there, you can be able to, I speak, I do personal development coaching, and my niche is I work with athletes.
Yeah.
Whether they're brand new or if they're old, I work with athletes who are trying to figure things out. And they finally looked in the mirror and said, I need help.
I love it. It's awesome. And you make me want to get up and go play, although I wouldn't get very far today. But so last part, and you've answered most of it, but just give us a 1 minute, bullet point. Alex Molden, 1.0, freshman in college, this new area of name, image, and likeness, all kinds of opportunities, but all kinds of pitfalls and traps and pressure and easy money to some people. Give us some advice for freshman Alex Molden at the University of Oregon.
Well, it's so cool. Thank you, Mark. One of the coolest things is me having a son that's now following dad's footsteps. He's a rookie in the NFL. He plays for the Tennessee Titans. And I've given him like a different way of thinking. So I would suggest that younger Alex Molden, number one, find out who you are. Look in the mirror and understand that football, that basketball, whatever your sport is not going to be there forever. What do you want your life to look like? How do you make decisions? Most of us, we make decisions it's in my book. Like, I talk about leadership. I know that, I own it, and I see it in different environments. And so you have to, just like an encyclopedia about football, for me, you got to make it easy, boil it down at a foundational level. Leadership is influence. Now, Mark, how important is influence in your life right now? Right? Yeah. Like, how important is influence? Once you start to understand influence, that can help me make better decisions. It can make me be a better, what I want my life to look like. How I control my emotions, right? Because intuition, that's the strongest influencer. Like how you feel. A lot of people make decisions, bad decisions based off of how they feel.
Right.
We also make good ones, right? You just talked about it, being inspired. That's a feeling. I love being inspired. I try to surround myself with people who are inspiring.
Right.
But understanding these influence can help you be the best version of yourself in any environment. That's right. In sports, in the classroom, outside, when it's time to get a job, if you want to start a career, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to know exactly who you are.
Awesome, man. Hey, you lived it. You walked the walk and you talked the talk, from high school athlete to college athlete, professional athlete to dad of a professional athlete. Congratulations on everything that you've accomplished. Best of luck with the book and the mentorship program and the guided tours through life. And we really thank you for being part of the Players NIL podcast, Alex.
Mark, thank you very much, man. I'm so happy for you, having this platform to be able to help, us athletes and be able to, not just about getting money for their name, image, and likeness, but how do you propel that to you can make that as an advantage when you're off the field. That's what it's about, off the field. And when you're done playing, what relationships are there? Are relationships that are right there for the taking right now. How are you going to take advantage of it?
You like to use the word legacy, and the Players NIL is about building legacy for our clients and our fans. And Alex, you got a great legacy. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, my man. I appreciate you, Mark.